Okay. Do we think hashtag or not to hashtag? How many hashtags? Any ideas?
I read a thing yesterday about hashtags. Yes. Someone saying that because there's so many robots behind machines and the big companies, if you hashtag too many, you're gonna get so many ads or messages from robots or selling you things or asking you to like whatever.
Yeah.
Because of hashtags, so it's without like a fine line between which hashtags to do and how many to put on.
Yeah.
Sometimes some put like use lots of hashtags.
It is true that if you have the most generic hashtags, that those like kind of virtual assistants or machines pick you up and comment some random emoji on your feed. That is true. That's one thing. I'll get into it. Just as an example, here's just a post that appears to have no hashtags at all and has 28 comments. You go into the comments, you still don't see any hashtags, but there was actually 30 hashtags on that post. Just as a kind of example, if people think it looks too spammy, you can always hide them once there's enough comments on it. Just by that, like I was saying, there's a 30 hashtag cap on it, so you can't post more than that. And they can range from being way too generic to being way too relevant, and just some random words. And there's just that one post for that one hashtag, which is not relevant at all. So from that, that's just an example photo. Does anyone know what that is? Yes, very nice. That's the Tangalooma Rex at Mount Island, just off Brisbane. And from there, you would think those people are really happy. We can hashtag happy. Happy has 600 million photos, content within it. So it almost makes it totally irrelevant for you to use that because you're not reaching the right people. Whereas in tourism, it's really big to have like region-specific hashtags. In this example would be Visit Moreton Bay Region. Has a good amount of posts, 40,000, and you reach the right people that are searching for content in that hashtag. In my experience and opinion, you got to be careful which ones you use because you could be blacked out by the wrong hashtags. So you've got to do good at research. But once you have those picked out, you can do your 30. Because I think from experience that why would you want 28 reasons to be discovered when you can have 30? So just kind of, you've got to obviously weigh out which ones you use, but if you do use your 30, you have more chances for people to see your content that are obviously searching for that hashtag.
So,
yes, of course.
You're saying like you have 30 hashtags. Of course, you're gonna have like few ones that you're always gonna use.
Yes.
So what is the percentage of, let's say, just to give you one idea, for example, you have around 5 hashtags talking about Moreton Bay, and the other ones, how do you put all this together and say, oh, okay, this represents experienced us?
Yes.
How do you claim this?
Yeah, so what I've been doing is I have a set amount of generic travel ones. Maybe now in COVID times it's a bit, you can't really predict what you're putting out there, but at least last year was very much having my set tourism ones that include See Australia for Tourism Australia, not, let's say, traveling, that might be too generic, but it could be Travel Australia, or it then goes into a state, Visit Queensland, for example. So they're always quite generic, and then you can narrow it even more down to use the operator, which is the tour operator going to Moreton Island. So you use their hashtag, which probably has a really small number of people because they're maybe just a family business, but it still reaches the right audience. If you have a product and you, for the life of you, can't find more than 20, I wouldn't just put generic ones on there for the sake of it. So I would always stay within your reason. Yeah. a really nice example of using Queensland of how to put everything together apart from just hashtags and having the right size. Obviously having a nice caption. Not everyone reads captions, but this is just your trial and error of testing information, doing some form of call to action, asking them where it is, if they've been, sort of thing. You can always ask questions. And they do a really nice job of incorporating everything together, which includes as well the location tag at the top. It's another way to be discovered because you can click through and all the content comes up as well for the Sunshine Coast in that case. Really important, tagging the user, in this case as well, the photographer that took the photo, always give credit. And the region, using hashtags in the caption looks really good. Then you've obviously got if you use 3, only 27 in your comment. And tagging on the photo is also really nice for them to have their content in their own feed. If you guys, sorry, can't explain that right. So you have your own kind of photo tags where people tag you in the photo and that shows up in your own feed. And from there, you're not just putting it up and leaving it be. You want to engage with your comments. If people have questions, you want to reply. That all drives engagement up as well. What I'm using to put this schedule together, there's obviously a lot of tools out there, and they all basically do the same thing somehow. I've used Planoly, Buffer, Sketch Social, used it all. At the moment, I'm using Sketch Social. One of the main reasons is because they're an Australian company and have an actual pool of phones in Melbourne. So what they do, they log into your Facebook account and post it for you. So there's no reminder that then you have to go into your own Instagram account and post it manually anyway. This is what I really like about it.
Work for stories as well?
Pardon?
Can you schedule like stories?
Yes, they do stories as well. So you can create, like, let's say you have a design ready, you can add a link, which then makes it the swipe up option. Unfortunately, you can't add your text and GIFs and little things onto it how you would when you build your own story on Instagram directly. But if you have a done up image ready, you can just schedule it and it gets posted automatically. Obviously, every one of those has a free plan and a paid plan with how many accounts you can use, how many, for example, in Planoly, you can only put 30 in your schedule if you're on a free plan. So others might have other limitations. So it always depends on what you're looking for. At the end of the day, if you have a bigger budget, definitely go with Sked. That's just my recommendation. On tools, yes. Another thing is you obviously can then put the same content or different content onto Facebook and Twitter if you're using as well. So for me, in Sked, it's easy to write everything out on Instagram, have it already, and then if I tick it for Facebook as well, I might just change, yes.
Do you post the same content onto all platforms?
At Experience, yes, because if there is more time for me involved to schedule out a whole heap of different things, I maybe would, but for Experience Oz, it's there's posts twice a day, so it's 14 posts a week, and by now our Facebook audience is quite old, I would say. It's a bit more of the middle-aged moms and grandmas, whereas Instagram is a bit of a newer and influencer sort of audience. So I'm not worried about my audience seeing the same thing twice that much, just because for that instance it is. If you feel like you have the same people, it's quite a small audience, you have the same people following you on both platforms, maybe you want to mix it up and get down the numbers of your posts, maybe just do one a day, and you can then optimize it a bit. For Instagram, you could have really nice photos and be really inspirational in that sense, and on Facebook you can be more informative, and it's easy to link out to your website and tag in other pages as well. Whereas on Instagram, it's all really hip, young, I'm still young, but I just said hip. So yeah, that's from my experience. Other tips on, yes, of course.
Instagram descriptions, when you just go to post on there,
Yeah.
we can't put links yet.
Yes. No, actually, unfortunately, no. It's
Yeah.
really, I
Just
found
on
that one.
Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook.
But you can put links on stories and
Yes, so once you reach your 10,000 follower cap, you're
Yes.
allowed to put a swipe up on your Instagram stories. And I'll definitely use that as well. It's a great way to get people viewing your stories onto your website or YouTube or whichever platform may be. Same on Facebook. It's really easy to have the link before you fold, before you have to click see more. Put the link in there so people can click through. If you want to get people from Instagram to your website, you can do the good old link in bio and put it into your profile description. It just obviously depends on people actually go through, which you can then see in your analytics if people use your website link a lot. Yeah. Just some more generic tips on top of the ideal post. What I talked about is to actually engage with other content that is within your hashtags, within your country. If you're following other people, obviously they're in your newsfeed, it's easy to like and comment and just kind of build a bit of a community. I have that experience now with Flow Yoga, where the leggings company, that her audience size is really small. She has about 6,000 followers, but because she's so personal and inclusive, people just engage with it automatically because they may have met her in person at a market. So it's really nice family feeling, and that is something you definitely want to achieve. Something people really love is free shit. So if you can, if you have a budget, if you have a product, do a giveaway. It's a really easy tool to do and to get followers, to get people sharing your photo to their stories, whichever your rules may be. Share it to the story, share it for a friend, tag people in the comments. It's all ways to grow more people to your page. And you may have a drop off after of people just liking your page for the fact of entering the giveaway. But that's something you gotta weigh off. If your content after that is beautiful, they'll stay. And if they like your product, if they want, they'll stay as well. So that's definitely something to give a go. A big thing, especially in tourism, is doing collaborations and the influencer females. We would send a photographer, videographer on a tour, and they then create some content for us, photos that we can use on our website, photos that we can share back on our page, and then they have the experience out of it, for sure. A big thing is just to have patience. At the end of the day, whatever the follower number may be, it's just a vanity number. It looks nice to have 100,000 of followers, but if they're not engaged in you, in the product, in the brand, what's the point? If they're not buying your leggings, if they're just following for the sake of having a huge number, it doesn't really give you much of an effect. So I wouldn't get caught up in numbers too much. Just gonna jump into Facebook and Instagram ads just like a little bit, because it's a really big topic in itself, and I could speak about that for about 2 hours straight, which I'm not going to keep you here for that long. This is just a screen cap of the ads manager when you have a Facebook page and you set up your ads manager where you can put in your bank details and credit card and you can start spending money. It always starts off with getting an objective for your ad. Do you want to drive traffic? Do you want to get sales, conversions? You can also do a like campaign, so it's specifically targeted to give your Facebook page likes, and you build it from there. It's quite straightforward on building the app. Obviously, there's a lot of optimization involved, and people get really into the analytics side of it. But the actual structure is quite easy. Once you've chosen your objective, just jump forward. In Flow Yoga's case, the objective was to get sales and purchases, so get your conversions. you would set your audience. You'd ask, oh, who's buying my things? Who's my audience? If you already have some form of following on Facebook, you can copy that from there. It's female, women in their 30s, they like yoga, they're active, and all those things you can actually set within it. You can say they're all, if you would on Experience Us target someone to go to the theme parks, you can target females that have children from 3 to 14, that are married, that are in a relationship. It can get down to their interests of liking Kmart. So you can really narrow down your funnel of your audience. You've got to set your budget, you've got to spend money to make the money. It can be a lifetime budget of 200 for over a week, or you could say I'm going to spend 50 bucks a day and just let it roll, whatever, until you see anything out of it. From there, you're going to build your creative, which could be a carousel, like it's a new year. Oh, I've never talked so much in my life, I'm sorry. I feel like a lot of you have already seen a carousel on their Facebook feed. I mean, every 7th post is a paid post. There's just multiple images with a link and a description. You have a description at the top. You could also do a video in different formats that could be posted to my story or on your feed, different dimensions. Another thing I actually haven't tried personally, but I really want to, is a collection. I think it looks really nice. You can have an image in it. I wish I had a screenshot, sorry. You have an image at the top and those 3 or 4 tiles at the bottom, like that. And once you click through, it's almost like it opens up a mini website. So you have the video still playing and you have multiple tiles of your products down the bottom, and from there you click through to the website. Those are just a few examples of your creative. Thank you. Just cutting into influencer marketing could be a very two-sided sort of, is it valuable for me? Can I drive more sales from that? Can I get people to engage with my Facebook page, Instagram? There's a lot of opinions on it. The main and big thing is what's your value you want to get out of collaborating with an influencer, a celebrity. You want to know your value. Do you want to get people to your website? Do you want people to follow your page? Do you want people to buy your product? There's a lot of things you can tackle it. In the case of the ride, I just sent a Gold Coast influencer while watching, booked her in for free, and our agreement was for her to post in her stories and tag us and do a post and tag us. It can be as deep as that you pay them a lot of money and you make certain adjustments of what they do for you. You need to have a budget, which could be just your product, or you actually have to pay them. A big important thing is to be very selective on who you work with, because you obviously don't want to spend a lot of money, send a lot of free products out, and you're not getting anything out of it. With that comes setting some form of agreement in place. If it's just an email, or if it's actually a signed contract of them saying, yes, I'm going to do 1 post, I'm going to do 5 posts, it needs to be all set in place, that you get the right thing out of it. Another important thing is kind of maybe asking, not maybe, but you could ask for their audience snapshot. So you can see who their followers are, where they're from, how old they are, to kind of align your audience with their audience. And then you've got to have some sort of time frame. This is when they receive a product, this is when they post their YouTube video, and how it goes from there. So a lot of different ways you can see how you go from there. With Experience Us, it's really, for us, it's quite important to get nice content, because we are just local, on the Gold Coast based, and we sell experiences all over Australia. So we can't just send someone to go to Perth and send a nice photo of a quokka. So we would work with someone local in Perth, send them on the experience for free, and they can capture the content for us, which we can then use on the website. So it's not so much about getting a social post out of it, it's more about getting nice content. So you got to weigh out what you'd like to get out of it. Also continuing from what I just said about Experience Us, getting your content, your photos, how do you want to get that sorted? The first thing obviously is to do your own photography, do your own videography, do it by yourself, hiring someone, grab your camera by yourself and take some nice photos of it. That's obviously the first step. That's not possible, you can go and grab some free images online. There's a lot of platforms like Unsplash. The screenshot on the right, I just searched for skincare if you're launching a skincare product, and you can go from there and grab those and do whatever you want with them. You can post them on your feed. Obviously, they would like for you to credit the photographer, but on those specific free platforms, it's actually not needed. So you could use it in an advertisement if you put some text on it and use it by yourself. From there, you can also go into some paid content libraries like Adobe and Shutterstock. Yes, of course.
I was reading about some regarding to Google, actually, not Facebook, but they starting to getting less spotlight for image that come from image banks. If you have it, it's more talking about the websites and these kind of things.
Yeah.
But do you see this is going to happen in the future for social media? Because Google is looking for something that is true, right?
Yeah.
And Facebook probably going to go in the same way.
Yeah.
So how do you see that in the social media? Because when you see one photo like this, huge production sometimes, and then your product doesn't really like that, you know what I mean? So how do you think? What do you think about that?
So far I haven't seen any influence on if you're using one of those photos, for example, on your feed. It could happen that a lot of brands are jumping on the same photos. If you have a very generic term and grab the first one you can find, it's very likely you're going to see the same photo in some other advertising from other brands. That's why I think the very first step is always producing your own, taking your own photos, for sure. I'm not sure if Facebook would incorporate anything like trading content with image libraries differently. I'm not sure if that's going to be an issue in the future, but at least for paid, if you're spending your money, it's getting out to those people that you spend the money for. Just the reposting, of course, on Instagram is quite big. If you have an Instagram account, you do really nice photos, like it's very likely that someone is going to pick it up, some of those collective accounts, and just reshare it. Can be a really big issue that they're not going to credit you, or in Experience's case, that we don't credit the influencers that are traveling around Australia. So credit is really important, and I get quite riled up when I follow someone and I see their content on someone else's page and it's not being credited. So it's quite a big issue, unfortunately, that if they're not tagged and no one's going to pick up on it, that it's just going to be reshared and no credits given. So it could be a bit issue, but if you do share photos, make sure you credit them. If you're not sure, you can even ask for the permission, send them a message, and make sure it's not used for advertising unless they gave you the green light to do so. You would pay them something for the image right. Yes, thank you. To kind of round it up, a bit of my experiences, just gonna get it all together what I said in the past. Not sure. Yes.
Fine.
Definitely knowing what other people are doing in your industry and kind of piggybacking on top of that. So you can not copy, but you basically do whatever you like with what you see. You can make it in your own way and reuse their ideas, because nothing is new. Everything has been done before in some form of way. So definitely just have a look at what everyone else is doing and get your ideas from there. And you can build kind of your own identity on that. For tourism, very big to know your hashtags, not just use Gold Coast, but use this is Gold Coast, so you're reaching the right tourism. Chances are you're going to be reshared by big tourism people. I was quite happy yesterday. It was a whale breach on SeaWorld Cruises, and Tourism Australia shared it. They have like 4 million followers. So I think that's a really big accomplishment just by using the See Australia hashtag. So they see their content. Building relationships with influencers, travel photographers that are traveling around Australia, not so much now, but that are just in the right spots, and kind of getting a feel of what they're after. If they would like to travel someplace, you can like build relationships with the hotel and create a content series out of that. So you could send them on an experience, and then the hotel would offer the accommodation, and you can get your kind of exposure and content out of that. Very big on social media is always testing, seeing what works, see which doesn't work. The algorithm is always changing, and where your content is going is very hard to predict sometimes. If an image you think is the best thing in the world, and you might not reach as many people as you think. Sometimes it's very hard to predict that. That's definitely something you need to keep in mind, to test what you have. If it's not working, adapt and change. And then a really big thing in tourism is getting your content from other places, which is quite in the past year, it's been almost a bit of a challenge of, I've used this theme park photo on our feed 5 times in the last year. I kind of need something new that you then branch out to families, maybe even send an influencer family to the theme parks, and they take unique content for you. So that's something I've learned. Not too far. I haven't actually had much experience now in the retail and e-commerce industry, only since March, since I've worked with the yoga wear company. So it was a bit of a change for me from going to a service to an actual product. But I really love the change of having such a unique product for people and such a unique kind of community. One experience also is really broad. You would have international travelers, you would have domestic travelers. You almost don't know who your audience is. Is it a mom with their kids? Is it a couple traveling? Whereas for that, it's very kind of narrow in that case, that you have the community already set, and then you can branch out from there, not just doing yoga, but doing other kind of active, branching out in other active communities. It was super easy to have like a quick turnaround on Facebook ads. We would put the carousel together, set the audience based on previous customers and their Facebook audience, and you would see sales within a day, within a few hours. So that's been quite interesting to see how they were able to change their market presence, selling only at markets to selling only online with COVID times. That was really good to just see in the past few months. As I mentioned, it's very personal. You can kind of get content from your customers. They send you messages. It's really almost like a family. It's super adorable. And of course, how it's different from having a service with explains us. I love working there, writing little cards on their package and then seeing it again on Instagram, them sharing it, sending you messages. That's kind of the full circle. The full circle of them buying from your ad, you being personal in their product that you send them, and then they being personal back to you in there, how they then react with you online after. And that's kind of how you build your audience and a big community. That was all.
Thank you.
Any questions?
So
Yes.
since you are a social media manager,
Yes.
so and you talk directly with the marketing team,
Yes.
how is the relationship to understand your work? Say, okay, you're doing a good job, or how they measure the return on investment?
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? Because not pointing to your case, but nowadays with one cell phone, anyone can schedule and do it.
Yes.
And so, since you are in the market, you're in a company doing, and you have the experience to have like other companies working on other companies. How they measure that? How they say that you're good enough to be here, or you mark the return on investment that they're doing hiring you?
One, as much of a vanity number as it is, one point is obviously gaining your followers. From this number, you've now reached 2,000 more within 4 weeks. So that's definitely one point of I'm doing the right. One point of those things that I'm doing the right thing. You can see your return on investment very well on Facebook ads. You can see exactly what you spend on the whole ad, what was your cost per purchase. So you can really see that the sales obviously coming. Which sales actually come through Facebook and Instagram. It's the same thing, Facebook, Instagram ads. That obviously doesn't include any Google or in-person marketing, any website changes, how you change if the website has any issues, that obviously is not shown through that. But those are some of the numbers where you can see that you're doing a good job. Another thing I feel is always looking back at what you did a year ago of this is what my feed looked back then and this is what it is now. I'm getting that many more engagements. It's a big thing, always getting more engagements.
But they set kind of milestones for you and say, look,
yeah,
on 6 months we need to be there. Otherwise, like, you're not doing, because numbers are, as I say, if you spend a lot of money, you get more numbers. So how do, thinking now you're in a company that is smaller company, more family business, how they can measure that? Because they don't have a lot of money to spend. They want to be, how you hold them realistically looking. In 6 months, we can achieve like 100,000 followers. But in this marketing, we can go in that way.
Yeah.
So how do you make this?
With Flow Yoga, where is a big point of them not being able to do markets anymore in person and then saying, hey, we need to be online. We have never done Facebook ads before. We need someone that does it for you. And just the fact that I was able to set it up for them, obviously they can then go in and change their budget themselves. It's very clear. Everyone can kind of do it themselves. But I think just the security of having someone else look over it and making sure what you're spending is what you're getting and helping them out to get the right amount of sales in. I think that helped them immensely that I was there and just hold them by the hand.
How do you manage to separate like your work stuff from your personal stuff? Because I know like on Instagram you can put many accounts, but you don't want to work 24 hours and on the weekends, but you need to have the notifications on.
Yeah.
So you have a second phone, or how do you manage that?
I don't have a second phone. I work 24 hours a day. Very true. It's almost like a guilty pleasure if you're my age and you enjoy Instagram. You have your account and then you see one more notification, you go through it. Oh, it's just a like, you go back to your own account. It's very true. I just spend basically all day on my phone. If you're not into that at all, I definitely recommend having a second phone and just having your own personal Instagram, setting your time, if you can, the screen time limit, if you want. I love minimalism, so I'm all about minimizing, but I really tried it. I got rid of Instagram on my phone and Facebook as well, just to get a bit of digital detox going on. And within a day, I had to get it back on because I had to boost a post. So it's really hard if you're in that to separate it a bit. But I think if you're not enjoying social media and if you only see the toxic trait of it, you definitely wouldn't want to do it as a job. So my own personal Instagram is really limited to who I follow. So it's really just what I really love. I'm not trying to branch out a bit too much. And then I do go in the brand's accounts that I manage and I just get my like, you know how you have the explore page, I just go through there and I like post there. So that's me being in my free time and getting engagement through. So in a way I do work
and
all
it
day
doesn't
long.
happen sometimes like you forget you are your account Like you want to do
Oh,
a
yeah.
person started by oops, isn't the business
Very,
one?
very rarely. But I need to look this person up, and I go in and I search them, and then I hit follow, and then I realize, oh, that's the right account. Okay, I have to go there. It does happen sometimes. Yeah.
Do you ever use Instagram from a desktop?
I do. I like to look at the likes. Since Instagram, the app has got rid of that, so you can't actually see how many people like it. You still can on the desktop.
Do you use it like as to post or comment?
I think that the only way you can actually post is with like a Chrome hack. So I do post everything through Sked. It's all automatic, so I don't have to do anything like that. Comments on Instagram, I do through Facebook, which has the Pages inbox. So it has Facebook and Instagram, both the direct message inboxes and notifications of comments, both Facebook and Instagram. So I can have all notifications in one place and see what has come through and reply right there.
Do your clients have access to the Instagram that you're running, for example? So let's say that you're running the yoga place and then your client, well, like the person that owns the thing, they also use Instagram, and sometimes they do things that you would not agree with. Do you ever have that conflict between what you're doing and what they think is right?
So for Experience, for example, it's quite a bigger company, so I'm the only one, plus maybe the marketing manager that looks over that. So that's all me. But for the Flow Yoga Wear, it's just two people, really small. They're just a couple, and it's her baby. She started it. She's running it, so she's posting. I just help kind of collect the feed in Planoly. We do that in Planoly. I kind of make her feed look a bit more pretty, help out with what I wouldn't necessarily put next to each other. But because she's so involved in her own thing, she writes the captions, and then I just jump in messages and comments if need be. So I'm not fully taking control of that, but that's just the.
Do you struggle with it when, for example, she would do something that it's not in her expertise because that's why they hired you?
Yeah.
Yet they're still doing it. Like, how do you manage to say to your client, look, I understand, but this is what you hired me for, so I need to be doing that in order to be successful.
In that case, it's not. It wasn't fully me taking it over. It was more helping out. I was more to begin with to do the ads mainly. So it was never agreed that I do it fully just me. I have no problem with that because I get very precious about it as well. So I was told yesterday that the SeaWorld Cruises account would be looked at by someone else, would be overread by someone else in a few weeks. And I was saying, oh, they're not going to make it as pretty as me, and it's not like the blue is not going to match with this blue. And so I do get like that. But at the end of the day, it's still their brand and their business. So I have to kind of let go and obviously give my feedback and my help where I can. But at the end of the day, you've got to work together and make it work. Yes.
How do you find influencers, like the people that you choose? Like, what's the process you go through to find the people that you want to promote or how to go on the experiences or do that? So what's your process with that?
There's a lot of tools actually out there you could use, Scrunch and other influencer tools that they would be part of, and you as a brand can find them. Since the budget for Experience isn't set to be involved in that, I find them through just searching on Instagram actually. I look through hashtags, see their content, and then land up on their feed. I would, a lot of the times I like to go and see what the big tourism brand companies would reshare. So they would, Tourism Queensland post a really nice photo, I would see who it's by, and then kind of explore from there. Another nice thing is on desktop, I think it's the same on mobile, when you are on someone's page, it drops down with like a row of more, and I just open them all up in a new tab, and you can just keep on exploring and making a little spreadsheet of name, followers, where they're located, if you want to work with them. So I like to find them through Instagram. Anything else? Yes.
So you are working with tourism and retail that are two areas that both got like really impacted in different ways with the pandemic, COVID, that retail selling are like sky high right now. So you probably had more sales since you started there in March. And how did this influence in experience loss and how did you change, or if you change some of your like mindset to adapt to this situation in different ways into different brands that are like different areas that are like going, I guess tourism is going low and just e-commerce is skyrocketing right now.
I think
Your impressions.
COVID, obviously, no one can predict and see what is happening and know from there how your ads are performing, how social media is going, if you're getting more followers, if you're getting more engagement. I actually happened not to be involved in experience ops from like March to June. Maybe Tyler could tell more how it changed, but I think you have to just be a bit more listening to what others are doing and how the community is responding. So if your content is very, visit the theme parks, it's amazing, buy your tickets, and the theme parks aren't open, you're kind of defeating the purpose. So you have to adapt what you're doing and make it a bit more inspirational, a bit more calm and open. Just the fact that no international travelers are coming into Australia and domestic travel is very limited has put the sales down, but I think no social media ad or post can really influence that to a certain point because people can't spend their money going here and there, so they're not inclined to really buy in that sort of thing. Then they go and buy their fitness gear rather than going traveling. But I think that's just how it is at the moment. It's not much any social media post can do. You just have to keep swimming.
Perfect.
More questions?
When you're doing the Facebook ads for tourism also, right? So your sort of target audience is pretty broad because you want families to travel, but you also want young people to travel.
Yeah.
How do you navigate the ads to get to your like audience? Do you do, let's say, 1 week it's the young people, another week it's the families, etc., or you choose your your niche or whatever, or you just target it to everybody? Because I know I tried to do ads once and there was like such a huge amount of people that I knew that my ads will not actually get anything. So how do you narrow it down with experience all
Like a year ago, it was actually really complicated to find the right people because how do you know if someone living in Melbourne is going to Gold Coast at a certain time? A really good thing you can do in Facebook ads is take travelers. So that actually captures people on Facebook being out of their usual location. So it picks up that they're from Melbourne, but they're currently in the Gold Coast. So that's a nice way of predicting beforehand. And at the moment, it's really limited to having theme parks ads run in Brisbane because you can't in New South Wales. So yeah, I think it's always been a bit tough getting your massive Australia-wide audience. Definitely good is maybe doing the research on where there's like, I guess, clusters. So you would have your Melbourne audience and you can do the travelers from the Gold Coast and vice versa. And you then target the big cities because even though it's more people, but at least they're likely to travel, unless if you're really regional. And another thing you can do is A/B test. So you can have all of Australia running compared to Gold Coast one and just see which one performs better. And you can then, after maybe 2 weeks, optimize it, make changes.
But when you say like all of Australia, do you have like a limited amount of ads that gonna, because obviously Gold Coast, do you have the number of ads that are gonna be like executed when you buy ads in Facebook? How does it work when it comes to like, let's say is entire Gold Coast gonna get an ad from you and how much you pay for it compared to entire Melbourne, obviously because it's bigger. So does it give you a number? Okay, we're gonna view, let's say 1,000 adverts in 1 week. Like how how do you have the
You,
numbers?
in the ads manager, you set your audience and it gives you a predicted number of reach, and it's like a meter of numbers, how many. And depending on how much money you spend, that's how many you reach. If you're only spending $50,
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes
the
sense.
allocation is down within a few weeks maybe. Whereas if you're spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars and let it run for longer, you're going to be continuously reaching more people. Beautiful.
All good?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.